Well, good afternoon. Thank you for attending this webinar. This is the third in a series of 3 that we are running today about getting started with Microsoft Teams. We looked at the basics of Teams, we looked at some ways that you could engage students more with Teams, and in this final webinar we're going to be looking at some of the recording, publishing and language options. There's a link or a web address at the bottom of this slide which shows you where you can get the recordings of all of these webinars if you missed one or you want to share it with a friend or colleague. And there's also some links to useful resources. I'll introduce myself and then explain what we're going to do in this session. My name's Stephen Payne. I'm based in Perth, Western Australia, and I'm a learning delivery specialist with the Microsoft Australia team. I work with schools and universities to help them make the most of the Microsoft technologies they have for teaching and learning. I do a lot of work with Teams and the Office 365 suite, as well as Surface at universities and schools around Western Australia mainly. If you want to get in contact with the team or you have any questions, there's a web address, I call it a web address, it's an email address at the bottom, oz-edu@microsoft.com. If you email that email address, you'll be put in contact with the person relevant to your state or university that you work at. In this session, we're going to look at Teams meetings. Those are those collaborative meetings where you can have multiple people sharing and contributing to the meeting. We're going to look at live events, which are for those more formal broadcast meetings where you might have one to many. So the Teams meetings are where different people can chat and collaborate and share in their screens, whereas in a live event it's generally just one person presenting or a number of people presenting to a larger group. Stream is where all the recordings are. Some really nice features you've got in Stream to help you manage your content and make it accessible to students both in English but also other languages as well. So that's the aim of this session. Just a reminder, if this is your first Microsoft Live event, anyone can watch this presentation live. The link that you clicked on to access this, you can share with friends and colleagues and they're able to watch along. After the session is over, that link will also give you access to a live recording of this. But I think what we're going to do is tidy up the recordings and make them available in a more palatable way, so you don't have to download a long 2.5 hour recording if you just want to watch one part of it. There is a moderated question and answer session. So if you click on the Q&A button, you will be able to ask a question, and we have Ray, who said hello at the beginning of today, is in Sydney, and he can join in and answer your question either privately or publicly if it's relevant to the whole group. So don't be shy. If you've got a question, no one will see it unless Ray decides to publish it. So anything you're not sure about, click on the little question mark and away you go. The other thing is we have set up closed captions for a number of languages for this session. So somewhere around your screen, you might see a CC button for closed captions. That should allow you to choose one of the languages. I think we have Chinese, Filipino and some others. So I'll talk about how you can set that up as we go through this presentation.
Hey, Stephen, it's Ray. Just because there were questions on the last webinar, I just thought I'd mention I went in as an attendee to see them. And so there's a button on the bottom right of the video screen, which is CC for captions. And to the right of it is a settings icon. And if you click on that, you can go into closed captions and choose the language that's displayed. It's a set of languages that we chose before the webinar, but you're able to set up to 6 languages automatically.
Thanks, Ray. Teams is available on all of the any sort of connected device. So whether you're on a phone, a tablet, Mac, PC, iPad, you can access it through any of the modern browsers, but you do get the best experience if you're using an app. So whether that's the iPhone app or the Windows app, you're going to have more features than you would if you were just accessing via a web browser. So I always recommend get the app if you can. Just a recap about meetings and events. I did mention this briefly. So you're equal within a meeting. So anyone can turn on their mic and contribute to the meeting. Anyone can share a video feed of what's going on in their room. Anyone can share their screen. So a meeting is much more collaborative for those small groups working together, whereas an event is about broadcasting to an audience. So you might be a lecturer delivering a lecture that is going to be recorded and made available for a number of different classes, or you might be creating a content that you want to share with people overseas or in different states. That's when you'd use an event. The audiences don't interact as much. You've got that live question and answer, but you don't have the ability for a free-form chat between the audience members, which you do within a meeting. So those are the two differences. And there are some differences in the way that you can access language options and record and those sorts of things, which we'll address as we go through this. I'm going to start off with Teams meetings. So these are the meetings that ordinarily you would do with people you were working with, whether that's a group of staff working together or it might be students working in a tutorial group. You can schedule Teams meetings, or you can just go into a team and click Meet Now and have an ad hoc meeting. You can have 250 people collaborating in one meeting. You can share in other Office 365 apps. So while the meeting is going on, you can be collaborating in a whiteboard or adding notes in a OneNote book or editing a Word document. All of those things can be done within a live meeting. You can choose to share your video or a screen or desktop as well. So Teams meetings are all about being able to collaborate and have a chat with video and shared screens. So we can bring in any of the content we've got on our desktop. I mentioned this in the early webinars, but a really important thing to remember is much better to share your desktop or your window than a full PowerPoint. If you share a PowerPoint, it actually pushes the whole PowerPoint across the web, which can be difficult if you've got people working overseas or where they've got low bandwidth. Whereas if I'm sharing a desktop like I'm doing now, I'm just sharing my Teams window. It should be coming across in pretty good quality, whatever device you're using, wherever you are watching this webinar from. So PowerPoint, yep, share it if you really need to, but generally just presenting live is enough. Teams meetings aren't recorded automatically, but you can choose to record, and you just click the three little dots. This is a really good tip. Wherever you are in Microsoft products, click those three little dots and there's lots of really nice features. You can start recording and stop recording at any point. So it might be you're having an informal chat at the start of a meeting and then you want to record just a certain part of the presentation. That's fine. And of course you can go in and edit recordings afterwards before you make them available to everyone else. One of the collaborative ways of working within Teams meetings is having a chat. So anyone who's engaged in the meeting, whether they're on a phone, iPad, computer, they can chat to each other and to the presenter. In the meeting you're in now, you can ask questions of other presenters, but you can't have just that informal chat with other people. So you can write a question. You can like or love or laugh at people's responses, and you can also share files. So down the bottom, you've got some options about you can share files, GIFs, emojis, all sorts of different things like that. And you've also got, again, click those three little dots and you've got access to the first language options I want to mention. You've got Translate and Immersive Reader. So what Translate allows you to do is translate someone else's message into your language. So I'm using Teams in English. If someone overseas was using it in Chinese, they could type in Chinese and I could translate what they've written into English. I can't sit here and translate anything into whatever language I want. It's only translating a foreign language into the language that you're using. And that's the same experience for everyone. So if someone is in the meeting in Finland, they can translate whatever someone said in English into Finnish, or whatever they've said in Chinese into Finnish. So that just translates one way. If you want more flexibility, you might have people writing in different languages, or you might not be really comfortable with some of the technical language in a meeting and people are chatting. You can turn on something called the Immersive Reader. And this is a tool which is available in a lot of Microsoft products. So that message I've just written here, if I click on Immersive Reader, it will bring up whatever is written in the chat message or wherever it happens to be in Teams, and it will bring it up full screen. And I can listen back to it by pressing this play button here. I can change the settings, so I can change whether it's a male voice, female voice, and the speed. And I can also choose to translate. By clicking this little icon here, I've got some options. So I can translate to any language that's included, and it can be by word. So I can click on one word and it just gives me the Indonesian for that word, or I can translate the whole document or the whole chat. So you can do this live in Teams meetings if someone's typed something and you just want to clarify what it is in your own language, and then you can just switch back between your language and the original language. So that works really nicely. But that also works in OneNote, Word, the Edge browser, in general Teams conversations, in Outlook. So lots of places you can access the Immersive Reader and engage with the content. There's quite a few other things that Immersive Reader does, but that's a quick option about what you see there. Some of the other things you've got within Teams for accessibility, I've talked about the Immersive Reader. One thing I didn't show you was you have this automatic picture dictionary. That's really useful for students who are using a new language, or for people who struggle with reading. You can click on a word and it gives you a picture highlighting what that is, and that works in other languages as well. You've got the inline translation, which I've mentioned. You've got live captions in meetings. So in the live event you're in now, you can, as Ray said, click on CC and choose one of the languages to see live captions. So I'm actually talking live, but you're hearing me between 15 and 60 seconds later. And the reason for that is it's working out the captions in the background. So there's a slight delay in when I present and when you see me. You've also got some tools for accessibility checking. So if you're sharing Word documents or PowerPoints, you can click an accessibility button and it will check whether they are readable for people with colour blindness or dyslexia and things like that. There's also some really good maths tools built into Word, PowerPoint and OneNote. And there's the transcript generator for recordings, which I'm going to come on to a little bit later in this session. So there's a whole load of accessibility content in Teams, whether that's a learning difficulty, eyesight, hearing, language. Really great tools to help you include everyone within the content that you're sharing. All of the things I've just shown you within Teams meetings are also available within a private chat. So you would generally set up a Teams meeting in Teams, in one of the teams you belong to, but you can also chat on a one-to-one basis with another member of staff or a student. So if you're just having a one-to-one tutorial with someone, or a small group tutorial, I can share a file, someone can comment on it, we can edit it, but we can also have a live, that was a really rubbish arrow, we can also have a live video, voice, or I can share my screen. So I can do that one-on-one with a particular student if I want to support them, or I could be planning something with a lecturer and I don't need to involve a whole group of people. I can have these private chats. And if I'm chatting to Hermione, I might want to add someone else in, and we can have a chat amongst 3 or 4 of us. We can collaborate on files and all of the things that I showed you, the immersive reader, sharing the screen, translation, all of those are available in a private chat as well as a Teams meeting. Now, live events. This is what I am presenting to you from now. Live events. So this is a broadcast call to the whole world. Anyone on the web can join in. You can have 10,000 people in a live event, whereas it's a maximum of 250 within a Teams meeting. So this is kind of a back end view. I can have different presenters lined up and I can drag them onto the screen and send them live to everyone that's watching. You've got the moderated question and answer, and then all the recordings are saved to stream, and you can access them later on. When you set up a live event, you have control over who can access the recordings, whether you want to have a question and answer or just leave it as a broadcast. You have the ability to change those. So it's really for sharing knowledge, presenting to many people. You've got the idea of a lecturer presenting to multiple students, both on campus, off campus, overseas, and making that available after the event as well. So anywhere where you've got internet access, you can access the recordings. It actually works through Teams natively, Yammer and Stream. So I know some universities use Yammer for communication. Live recordings can be broadcast directly through Yammer, and Stream is a really useful app if you're working remotely, and I'll come on to some of the reasons in a little while. So when you set up a live event, you can just go to your calendar in Teams, and where it says new meeting in the corner, there's a little drop down arrow, and one of the options is new live event. So you give it a title, you choose the start and end date, and you can invite presenters and producers. So basically, presenters are the people who will be sharing their screen or their video and also answering the questions that people are asking in the Q&A section. A producer is someone who is actually deciding who's presenting. So I could be presenting here and then I hand over to Ray, and a producer in the background throws Ray's video feed into the live broadcast so everyone sees that. So it's kind of like a TV producer looking at different angles and cutting to different presenters. So that's really the basics, really simple to set up. And then you decide whether it is certain people that can access the live event, whether it's available to anyone within your organization. So if that was a university, they would need to log on with their university email, or you can make it public where people can attend. They can either sign in with their university email or they can attend anonymously. So that's what we've set up today, a public one so that anyone can attend. You can also decide who the recordings are available to. So it might just be that you make the recording available to the internal producers and presenters. If you click recording available to attendees, then as soon as the broadcast is over, attendees can use the same link and download a recording of the event. Some of the options you've got when you produce your event. You can determine what your spoken language is. So I'm speaking in English. You can probably tell I haven't got a United States accent, but that's the standard default at the moment. So if I'm presenting in English, I can choose to show the live captions in English for everyone that's watching the broadcast, or I can choose up to 6 languages, and then those are automatically generated in the background. Captions are generated so that people can follow along in Catalan, Chinese, Finnish, Indonesian, whatever 6 languages you've chosen. So you choose those 6 languages when you set it up, and you are limited to 6 currently. The other thing you can choose in this section is whether to have a Q&A or not. If you're just one lecturer presenting to a group of students, it might be that you haven't got anyone there to monitor the Q&A, so you might just turn that off and have any questions about the content being shared through Teams or through your learning management system, or however you want to manage that. But if you have got a co-presenter or a lecturer or an assistant or a student who can help out with that, you can add them as a presenter and they can monitor those Q&A for you. So those are all the settings. You click schedule, and then a link is provided that you can send to everyone. Once the event has ended, you can download the recording and actually edit it. So there might be a delay in starting, or there might be a pause in the middle, those sorts of things. You can kind of top and tail the recording and publish it. You can download all the Q&A, how people have engaged with the report, and also download the transcript in any of the languages that you have chosen to present in, or you've made available through closed captions. So that's what you can do after the event has ended. Exactly the same thing in private chat. The recordings can be saved, and Stream is where everything kind of comes together. So I want to just spend a little bit of time talking about Stream. It is a web app, but you can also get an app for your phone, for your tablets. And what's really nice about Stream is that you can access all of the recordings and also download them. So if you are overseas and you've got patchy internet, you don't have to watch a broadcast live or stream it with buffering over the web. You can just click download, wait for it to download, and then it's available even if you don't have internet access. So within a university or within a course, you can make groups and you can bring in your own content. So it's not just live events and Teams meetings that you've recorded. You can bring in professional recordings that you've made over the last few years, or you can duplicate content you've got on YouTube, or you can record an experiment you're doing in a lab and make that available. So any video recording you can upload to Stream and make available for members of your university. You have full control over who can access the content, and the content can easily be shared in Teams, SharePoint, Yammer and OneNote. It's just copy and paste the link in, and anyone who's got access, someone within your university, can play those streams back. So a really flexible tool. There's some really great intelligence that happens in the background. So when you upload a video, there's two things that I want to highlight here. If you've got a Teams meeting happening, it will actually pick up the faces of the people that are speaking, and you can actually click on a person and it will take you to when they were speaking. So if you had 3 presenters and you only wanted to hear from the third, you can click on that person, or you wanted to see where you interacted with the content. So it automatically picks up people's faces who are taking part in the conversation. You can turn that on or off, and similarly it adds automatic closed captions and a transcript. So the great thing about the transcript, I'm going to mention this in a little bit more detail. If I'm presenting to you now, you can actually go to Stream, whether it's on your phone or the web app, and search for a particular word. So if you searched for Immersive Reader, it would show anywhere in the video where I've mentioned Immersive Reader, and you can click on the transcript and it takes me to that point of the video. So it's really great for interacting with the content after the event. You can go to specific points of the video, and as you're watching the video, the transcript scrolls down. So if you are more familiar with another language and you're struggling, you can just really hone in on what's being said in both audio and textual representations there. It's really secure, so Stream is only available within your organization. If you wanted to share your video with someone outside of your organization, you'd have to download it and publish it elsewhere or put it on another system. So Stream is kept secure It's encrypted and you can access it on any device. And what I think is probably the best thing for working with remote and overseas students is the fact that you can quickly download those. You haven't got to stream them live via the web. You can make up groups and make things just available to your team or a certain group of students. You have total control over who can see, comment and like your videos. So when you've finished a meeting, you will be given an email at the end of the session. A little while after you've finished the session, an email will be sent to you saying your content is ready to stream. So yesterday I took part in 2 live events and they were automatically uploaded to stream. I can then go in and publish them, decide who can see them, edit them and share them if I want to. By default, the transcripts aren't automatically there. You've got to actually go in and turn those transcripts on. So I'll just go through those features really quickly. So I can automatically transcribe. There's my transcription, but that's got to be turned on before it's available. So you can either just follow the link in your email and go directly to stream, but everyone has access to stream through office.com. So if you've got an Office 365 account as a lecturer or a presenter, you can log on at office.com and go to stream. If you don't see stream, click on all apps and you might find some interesting apps there, including stream. Once you're in stream, you'll see all of the videos that you have made available. They might be tutorials you've created outside of meetings. It might be meetings you've recorded or live events. You can drop down to meetings and find the meeting. Yesterday I did a meeting on sharing files in Teams. So what I do is I go to this video and I go into update video details, and that allows me to do a couple of things. I can choose what thumbnail I want, so that'll be the picture that people see when they click on the video. And you can also choose your language. So you choose your video language and then you get the option to auto generate a caption file. So once your video meeting recording has been uploaded, you can go and change those settings. And then depending on the length of the meeting, it will automatically add captions that you can turn on or off by clicking CC, and it automatically adds a searchable transcript. So someone can open up the Stream app on their phone and search for Teams or search for Immersive Reader, and they will be able to find that because I have transcribed my content. And if I click on this section down here, it will take me just to the point in the video where I mentioned read-only content with students. So really nice idea to be able to interact with your content and make it accessible to learners in lots of different ways. So that's a really quick overview of some of the features within Teams for languages and publishing. And the languages I think is improving all the time. So closed captions is currently in preview in English, and I'm sure that will be made available in other languages as well. And the same with transcript. As long as you're presenting in a certain language, the transcript can be translated into any other language. It's just one language at a time, and that's the language that's predominantly being spoken. So that's all I wanted to share with you today. There are some further resources. There's an Office 365 starting page for education is the first one I've linked to. This is my favourite resource. I go here all the time. Any help on Teams, Office 365, Class Notebook, Stream, you can get really good information if you go to support.office.com/education. That's a global site. And then a Get Started with Teams guide I've linked to as well. At the bottom there is an email address where if you have any questions about Teams or something you need help with, If you email that, email address, then you'll be put in contact with the relevant person for your organisation, university, college, to help you out. So that just leaves me to say thank you. Thank you for attending. We've also put together a specific guide to work with offshore students. So if you access aka.ms/Teams academic guide, this one here, all the things I've talked about in the 3 webinars today, you will be able to find further information and links and tips to support you. And all of the recordings will be made available on this website here. So I hope you found that useful. If you did, please share that link with your friends and colleagues who might also find it useful. And enjoy Teams and enjoy the meeting and engagement facilities within Teams and meetings and events. Thank you very much.